the breathing gym stuff sneaking back in and like the and all of that. Like just over time work toward, as you're singing, be more aware. The quieter your breath is, the more relaxed it is, the more open it is, the warmer it is, the more just kind of free of all that stuff, all that effort, all that effect it is.
So when you breathe, like if you focus on this motion rather than this motion,
don't
like
think
this
about
just happens.
It's not exactly. So if you, it's just the best analogy I have is like the big 2-liter Coke bottle. You squeeze it empty, and then when you let it go, the air just goes in. It's not sucking air in from the top. There's no battery. There's no vacuum. It just, as it gets bigger, there's more empty space, and the air will fill. If you expand your lungs, the air will go in. Most of us are used to kind of sucking from the lips or sucking from the nose, like that kind of feel, engaging the throat, engaging the mouth. You don't need that. If you can independently expand your lungs without thinking about the air at all, the air will just come in. And it's silent, and it's warm, and it's beautiful, and it's relaxed, and it frees everything up. And the larynx drops, and the tension releases, and everything's better, as opposed to, and now jaws tight, throat's tight, less air capacity because I'm forcing it in, and my kind of throat, my chest is tight there too.
I feel like I'm engaging my core a lot.
You are. Okay. Yeah, no, you're definitely doing like you're doing it. It's I think the challenge is, and one of the things I talk about with a lot of my singers, the paradox of singing, that you, in almost every other activity, you are either tightening up your body or relaxing your body. So like if you're going out and like stretching, or if you're getting a massage, like you're trying to like relax everything. If you're playing football, if you're lifting weights, if you're swinging a baseball bat, you're like tightening up a lot of stuff. When you sing, you have to free and relax everything shoulders and above, and then engage fully right here. So what you're gonna find is you're gonna ping pong between too much tension here, correct amount of engagement here, and then relaxation and freedom here, too loose down here. And then you're gonna keep bouncing between the two until you find that healthy medium where you can engage this, but keep this relaxed. And that's really hard. So we're standing together, if you, don't hurt yourself, but if you tighten up your shoulders a little bit, and then try to wiggle your fingers, you'll notice that they're pretty robotic and like straight. If you loosen everything up, you can move your fingers a lot more fluidly, right? So that if you tighten up your shoulders and try to move your fingers in a relaxed way, it's really hard, right?
Yeah.
And then if you try to move your fingers in a very tight way but keep your shoulders relaxed and loose, that's hard, right? Because there's a thing
it's a little easier than the other.
Little easier. There's a thing they use in lifting called sympathetic activation. So when you're bench pressing, you're supposed to like grip with your full fist as hard as you can, because that full activation of these muscles engages these muscles, which engages these muscles, and you get a little bit stronger of a final push. So the problem is, as you're engaging this, it's gonna make this a little bit more tight, it's gonna make this a little bit more tight, and that'll creep up there. Because they're so far away, the core and the throat have some distance, you can engage this and keep this free, but just in general, you're gonna be fighting that battle constantly, and eventually you'll find that kind of medium place, like when you're on the bike and you're not falling to either side, and you're just balancing down the middle. You'll find that place where you've got enough engagement here and enough freedom here, and you're not fighting between the two. But for now, basically every time that you open up and relax and warm up your breath, you're probably gonna feel like you're not getting as much of your core, and then you try to turn on your core more, and then your throat will tighten up again, and that'll just keep going back and forth for a while. It'll take a month or two to work that out of your system, so just let it go. It's all good. The hums were good, excellent job. Let's go down to the low range. Can you do for me ni, ne, na? Listen once. Ni, ne, na. And just try to relax and open up that richness on the bottom. Ni, tallest, floatiest head voice, nice and light and relaxed. Take a nice big breath every time. Try to keep it relaxed and free. Bum, 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 bum. Light and floaty the whole time. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
I feel like I need facial tension to hit those high
the high notes.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. I would. The best way of explaining it is like needing a crutch. You know, when you're in a cast, and so just be careful that you don't become so dependent on that you aren't able to develop the technique to do it in a healthy, relaxed, free way. It's not a big deal that there's always going to be a little extra tension on the high notes. You know, it's like a thing in voice teacher community to be like, oh, free, relaxed, open, like yeah, but also high notes are harder than low notes. Like you can say they're all the same notes, but like everyone knows it's hard to sing high notes. That's just how it is. So there's going to be a little bit of extra tension there. There's going to be a little bit of extra effort. There's going to be more of a kick.
So what can I do to like not need the tension?
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be more of a breath thing than anything else. It's breath plus placement. It's the zing zing za. You can get that ping. That'll help you get over it a little bit more without needing the tension in the throat and the face. So if you listen to the difference between a couple types of high notes. Just a free, open, relaxed, falsetto-y head tone, very, very airy, very, very not pingy, very not present, but relaxed and free, no real tension. And then I can have like the full belt power, like put the tension on it. And like I'm kind of working for that. And then I can find that place in the middle where I'm placing it and pinging it in the front. I'm getting that ring in there, but I'm not pushing from everything else. So. So it's still a little bit more forward here. The first one was floaty in the back of the head. Bringing it a bit more in the front. Yeah, and so you're gonna feel that weird kind of break stuff, whatever, for a while. Yeah, you're right on that edge.
I don't quite have
that'll
that
come with
there.
time. Yeah, exactly. And it'll come with time, and your range may not settle to be the same place mine is. So maybe this is more of a high note for you. Yeah, like that's a great placement there. And then like the goal would be to take that and bring it up higher.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And like that just might take months. It might never come. Like it depends on what your range ends up being. There are some notes you'll be able to power belt like that. There are some notes you'll only be able to get out with that amount of power if you kind of push it in an unhealthy way. And then there are some notes you'll just never get. And that's maybe not some up here, like neither of us are gonna touch. But like there are people, I mean Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake, like there are people who sail up there. And so it's certainly possible, but it just is very, very complicated and difficult to do that, and it's not something I specialize in. So I can't help you with those sailing whistle notes, but I can help you get your belt a little bit stronger and get that freedom in the head voice so you can find a balanced sound up there that isn't as weak, but also isn't as tight and tense, and maybe a nice medium place that you can go a little bit more power heavy in performance if you want to, but you can always kind of revert back to a sort of neutral place when you're practicing or when you're running stuff with the band, or if it's a gig where or if you're doing backup vocals or any other kind of thing, you can kind of stay in that healthy place. And then if you are the lead singer that night and like it's a really important part of the song, you can add a little edge to the tone. Like even some distortion is fine as long as you're not relying on it and you're not doing it in a pushed, aggressive, unhealthy way. So you got the like, whoa, we're halfway there, like that, like the little growls into things, like that's fine as long as you're not doing it on every note all the time for hours a day. If you're doing it once or twice in a show, it's not that big of a deal and won't really affect you that much. You just need to make sure you're not feeling tension and pain while you're doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a spectrum from the most relaxed, open, free. Like my ideal is always going to be that you're making that sound, just because my job is to make your voice as beautiful and healthy and free and not damaged as possible. But and then you've got all the way up to like the most tight you can be, which is going to cause damage. You got that place in the middle where it's like a little bit of extra tension makes it sound better and doesn't really damage you that much. But it's not a wide range there, so it's easy to do a little bit too much tension or a little bit not enough. And that's just a thing that you pick up from singing a lot more and getting comfortable with your instrument. It's like I said, it's like the bike thing. We can talk technique all day, you can write out the physics of it, but at the end of the day, you gotta get on the bike, and you're not gonna learn to balance by reading a textbook. So just sing more. Good. We're gonna do a couple of bridging exercises in the middle there right now. Can you just give me a pure floating head voice as low as it'll go? If it gets airy and breathy and it dies, that's fine. So what I wanna hear is, let's start right here. Minor 5 notes descending. Nice and airy on the bottom. We're going to keep going down keys, so eventually we'll get down. And if it's that breathy and almost completely gone, that's fine. Just don't let yourself switch back to chest. I'm training your low head voice right now. Okay? Perfect, thank you. If it needs to stay that quiet, that's fine. If the bottom note starts to disappear, that's okay. I just don't want to hear chest. Try one more. Yeah, do you feel that? How like you're having to not fight, but you like your body wants to switch back over, right? Yeah. And so you can feel that like switch, and you're like, no, not yet. Like that feeling is a really good thing to train. It's the bicycle balance thing. So now you are getting a sense of when your body wants to switch from head to chest, and you get to insert yourself into that process. So now you can train that sense to be a little bit more intelligent about where to use that in your voice, because right now it's just sort of naturally based on how you've talked and how you've sung your whole life. And maybe you go into your chest a little too soon when you're coming down, or maybe you go into it a little too late when you're going up, and maybe your head voice doesn't come in soon enough when you're on your way up, and like all those things will adjust over time. But as you can insert yourself into the process, then you can choose on some places to do that more strategically. So a good example of that is the Deep River that we've been working on. You would never sing that low C with any head voice if you're just singing the note. Like that's a pure chest voice note. But knowing that you have to flip up to that over Jordan, it's useful to lighten it up a little bit in anticipation of that. So the first one can be my home, lighten it up a bit, is oh, and the top note will float right out, as opposed to my home is oh, right? Yeah. So if you can go full chest there, but just as you're about to go to a high note, just bring a little bit of that high voice in. My home is over Jordan. And then the second line, the second phrase, doesn't have any high notes. So you can go right into full chest. Oh, deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. There's no need to go up higher, so you can stay right in that place. Then you get a breath for the next section, so you can place it in that light place. Oh, don't you want to go over to that gospel feast? And that is on a G natural and could totally be chested. It could be that, and then you're not gonna have a fun time if you're going up there. But if you're going that promised land, if you're singing a harmony part, for example, then you can say full chest. That's fine because you're going down. That promised land, like that's great. But if I try to do that it's shouty, it's pushed, it's tight. That, bring a little bit of that head voice in. That promised land. And it's easier, it's freer, it's more open, it comes out more naturally. Make sense? So that's the first one that I like to throw in there. It's on my SoundCloud exercises there, the 5-note lulu. And then the other one that I like a lot for this that I want you to practice, you know some piano, guitar, like you can pluck a note if I give you a note to pluck. Like if I tell you to find an F, you can find an F.
I can play through these on the piano.
Great.
As well.
So E flat to F sharp, maybe G is around the keys that I would play with for this one. We're going to do a full scale descending. I want you to do pure head voice the first time, just like we just did, but it's going to be a full major scale all the way down.
So starting on what note?
F all the way down to F, major scale descending at light, floaty ah, keep it in your head voice the whole time. Good. This time we're going to go down 4 notes. Take a breath. Come back in your chest. Ah. Model it for you one more time. Ah. So we're practicing using the breath to shift our register. And the goal is to be able to do that without using the breath, to just do it while we're singing the tone. We'll get there eventually. Head voice. One more time. Breath. Chest. Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you very much. This time we're going to do the same thing but going up. Breath. Head voice. Try it. Breath. Beautiful. Can you do the whole thing down, up and down? So the only breaths are at the middle point. You'll go over the top and come back down in the head. Cool. From the bottom and chest. Sorry, here's our breath. Beautiful, good job. So I'm building up the sequence there. You're doing fine there. You can go further in the sequence if you want, but working right there for a while will be good for you.
I'm like very uncomfortable going into my head voice.
Yep, and that's why we're doing it so much. There it is. Good job. Good job. And that's the thing is right now, if
it's like finding the note in the head voice.
Yeah, it takes like half a second, and it is separate muscles. That's the thing. It's like there's a separate set of muscles that does head voice and chest voice, and you just worked the other one a ton. Because the style of music you sing is very chest belty heavy. The kind of singing you've done in the past, you've probably sung baritone bass in most of the choirs that you've sung in the musical stuff that you've done. And you speak in your chest voice, and like most people do. You don't talk like this all day long. Hello, I'm Ian. It's nice to meet you. Like you got people who are stuck in their head voice all the time, but it's not common. So yeah, I mean just that you got one giant ass bicep and then one teeny little weak bicep, and so we've got to work that and build it up, which is why the descending. That exercise, bringing down the low head voice, is so good for someone in your position because you probably never used low head voice in your life. Mm-hmm. It's like head voices only come into your life when you got to a high note that you couldn't sing otherwise. You know. Hey Mark.
Howdy.
This is Ian. Ian, Mark.
Hi, Ian. How you doing?
Yeah.
You're well, thank you.
So yeah, so then we've done that with the breaks. Now this time we're gonna try it without the break. Okay.
Okay.
So I want you to try. If you need a second on the note to kind of wobble around and find the placement, that's fine. If there's some cracks and wobbles, that's okay. We're trying to bring those out so that we can massage them and work them down. The analogy I use for most of my students is, did you ever build anything out of wood, wood shop, whatever? No. So have you ever sanded a piece of wood? Maybe a while ago.
Yeah.
But if you're sanding a piece of wood and you reach a rough spot, like that's the place that needs to be sanded, right? And so you get those rough spots in the middle of your voice and you're like, oh, I want to avoid this weird kind of middle place. It's like, no, that's what needs to be sanded. It needs to be sanded over 100 times. And that's why we do the sighs and the sirens and the lip trills, the like that weird clunk is the reason we're doing that. In addition to many other reasons. But like that is one of the main things that the first year of voice lessons is there to fix, is those clunks. So like when you said, I can't find that placement in the head voice, the 2 times I heard you sing it, it took you about half a second to find the placement. So it was something like, something like that. It's hard for me to model that because I've spent 20 years trying not to do that. but yeah, there's like a little click, and that half-second click is going to get down to a quarter second and then a tenth of a second, and eventually it'll get so small no one hears it, and that's where you're happy and in a good place. For now, it's okay to expose those and let them come out. So if you need to take a second as you're getting in the middle of the scale just to find where it fits in your voice, keep singing until you find it. I'll just wait for you, okay? So the goal is 4 notes of head voice, 4 notes of chest voice, without a breath. Good, so you anticipated that change a little bit on the last head voice note, brought in the chest, that was great. It was beautiful, totally fine. Good, this next one we're gonna go, can you sing this note once for me, just nice and floaty in head voice? Beautiful, can you give me that in the chest? Good, so that fits fine in your chest, doesn't feel strained at all. Good, so we'll use that note as our pivot. So head, you're gonna hold that note and try to move from head voice to chest voice while sustaining that note. This will probably expose some cracks and some wobbles. That's okay, that's what it's for. So it'll sound something like this. So find the chest and then move down the rest of the scale. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Try it on just that note first. Head voice. Make sense?
Yeah.
Great.
The wobble.
And that's the thing. That's what it's there for. So it'll get smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually I'll stop hearing it, but you'll still feel it. And that's when you're like, okay, we're in a good place. The audience is going to notice it. You can keep working on it to make it smaller and more controlled, but realistically, once the audience can't hear it, it's just for you. So, but it does make, better technique bleeds over into the rest of the music, so it's worth doing as good as you can. Head, 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 hold, chest, 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 chest. And that's the kind of thing you can do on your own, even if you don't have a keyboard, piano, whatever near you. Just like find a medium high note, a medium low note, sort of start a scale there. Just that's the most, that's the furthest that I would have you go in regular practice. The long-term goal is to be able to start in head, end up in chest, and everything in between is some sort of mix. So it's 100% head, 0% chest at the start, and then it's 90-10, 80-20, 50-50, 60-40, 30-70, 0-100, right? So if I do head, 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 chest, 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 head, 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 chest, 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 head, mix, 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 chest, chest, chest. That's the goal. So, flipping over dramatically. It's hard to pick a note where I switch to my chest, right? Because it's just like over 3 or 4 notes the chest came in. And that's the goal, is that no one could like raise their hand and say, that's where he switched. You want it to just be a nice, smooth flow. However, in the actual anatomy, that doesn't really exist. Like at some point, the muscles are switching over. It's just you've learned to control the flow of them so much that it's hard to notice where it happens, but you'll still feel it. You'll feel it happening. So it's more of, like we were saying with the head voice thing, there's that part of your body that's like, just sing it in chest, come on, and you're like holding that back. You'll have that sort of balance is something that you'll figure out with hours and hours of practice and paying attention to it. You'll start to feel, is this a head voice note or a chest voice note? And then beyond the like objective, is this a head voice, chest voice note in my voice, where my voice sits, it's the matter of, is it a head voice, chest voice note right now with the amount of sleep I've had, the amount of water I've had, the last time I smoked, the last time I performed, how dry it is in this performance venue, do I have a mic? Like all of those things will change where you're gonna wanna play certain notes, not from a like cognitive making the decision ahead of time place, but from a feeling it in your throat place. You'll just get a little feeling that says, I should use a little more head voice now, and then you just do. And that's, I literally don't even notice it anymore. I don't think about where my placement is and what register I'm using, I just sing a note. And my body knows how to sing in a healthy way, and so the note comes out the way it should. So if I say I want to sing an A, it's mostly chest, but there's a little bit of head in there. If I know that that A is going up, then it's in a lighter place. But if it's going down, it's it's a different A depending on where it's going, and that'll change depending on how my body's feeling that day. So you'll develop those instincts as time goes on. For now, it's okay for everything to feel awkward, to feel weird, for tension to get in there, for weird cracks and bubbles to come in. Totally. Cool?
Cool.
Sounds good.